Good evening, and welcome to the December 10th, 2014 work session of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't have any announcements.
Okay. Yes, and now I feel unprepared because I'm not remembering the name or the date of our screening in January. The name of the film is called Whispering Spirits. It's going to be an unusual, a little different approach for us. There's a program, it was presented at Jacob Burns a little while back to a standing room only crowd. It's a short film about a young man from Yorktown. He was an aspiring musician, and he died of a heroin overdose. And it's a very moving, powerful, and informative program, is my understanding, that his father has coordinated. And we have a group of panelists that will be coming, so I hope you can join us at the library on... Let me just double-check the
Thursdays,
dates. Right? It is, I want to say the 15th. Or the 22nd. So it's one of those. Sorry to keep you waiting. It is the 22nd, Thursday the 22nd at 6:30 at the Ossining Public Library. The name of the film is Whispering Spirits. I hope you'll join us.
Wait a minute. Tell us about
Energize?
getting your house.
Okay.
For the winter.
Do you want to tell us this
Sure,
week, John?
I'll-
We'll mix it up a little.
I'll,
Okay.
I'll let you off the hook. Yes, Lori Lee would be also a fine
Tom
spokesperson.
can sing tenor.
Right, yes. So it's a conspiracy. But anyway, the Energize program is continues to be funded, and we're certainly happy for that. But like many things, it may not last forever. It's an opportunity to have an energy assessment done on your home, and it really is very comprehensive. It's very scientific, and the vendors that they have to do the work do an excellent job of helping you understand your home as a heating and energy unit, and where's the good, where's the improvement, where's the things that need to be taken care of. And it's a way to save energy, reduce your carbon footprint, and make your house more comfortable and valuable. So it's energize.n.
It's now ossining.energizeny.org.
Okay, thank you. They made it more complicated. That's why I stopped doing the
The website
announcements.
changed.
Well, it's government, that's our job.
Oh, it's a government, yeah, that's it. So, but anyway,
Actually, it's a nonprofit.
it is, but it's.
okay.
But it
Please,
facilitates
please take
the
advantage of this great program. It's worth your time. Thanks.
Richard?
Okay, thank you. We have several items on the agenda this evening, and it will be followed by an executive session to discuss personnel, specific person and position. So the first item on the agenda is an update. It's a discussion with respect to unpaid water and sewer charges, and in the absence of Mr. Warren, I'll just describe to the board. This is an action that the village takes annually. There's provision of both the village charter and also general municipal law that allows for unpaid water bills to be added to the real property tax roll for collection. It's an effective tool to keep the water bill, outstanding bills, relatively up to date. He's provided a list of the unpaid water and sewer charges, which this year total over $488,000, which is significantly higher than a year ago. With the passing of the resolution that will be suggested for next week, will allow the water to be added to the 2015 real property tax roll, and it will be collected in January and July as part of your taxes.
So,
That's great.
just can you repeat that number again, please?
I think the memo, I guess I felt that you had it.
So
It's $488,056.55 with penalties.
So, and that is that like an aggregated amount over time?
Yes, that is as of a certain point in time. Depending on the aging, they cut it off at a certain point in time and they roll it in. But it will be aggregated up to a certain point, yes.
So, but I'm guessing that it's prior years that are included in this number?
Right, yep.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, we don't want to flush that much money away.
Yeah, okay. So if that's satisfactory, then it'll be added to next week's agenda.
Yeah,
Please.
I'm in favor of that.
Okay, all right, okay, thanks. The next item is a topic for designation of official newspaper. There's been some discussion about the regular designation of newspaper, which is used for public and legal notices of the village. And so on that item, Mary Ann Roberts, the village clerk, is here, as is Lori Lee Dixon, counsel.
It's funny being over here. As you all know, we have been using the Journal News as our official newspaper for many, many years. Journal News apparently is going through some organizational changes. From what I understand, they have had some layoffs. The gal that we had that used to take care of all of our legal notices has left. She serviced our account very well. She made sure that we were contacted immediately, that it would be published on such and such a date. She would send us the proof to make sure that everything was done accurately. Unfortunately, I can't say that anymore. We just most recently was the town's publication for the legal notice for their public hearing on their 2015 tentative budget. It never was published. Once it was determined that it hadn't, because I was looking through the folder and I didn't see the proof, and we called the Journal News. Oh, we don't have any record of that. Although we have in our file a document that says it will be published on such and such a date. It even had it was like 2:30 in the afternoon. They had no recollection. They had no record of this having. This can cause us some very serious problems. We were able to work out, matter of fact, we advertised it again, and the town had their public hearing prior to their adoption of their budget last night. But we have, as you well know, we've got bid documents that go out. We have our bond resolutions that must be published within 10 days of adoption. Otherwise, we have to go through it all over again. I don't think any of us have the time, the energy, or the finances to fund this. And their fees have gone up astronomically. For affidavits, we normally ask for 3 because we have to send them to bond counsel and in order to they're now charging us $30 each. So if we have an ad that's $105, we're spending $90 for 3 affidavits. So I have suggested, I spoke to the supervisor about as well, I will be going to their work session next Tuesday, about using the Gazette. Now, they publish once a week. They do have a readership. Obviously, I'm assuming it's not as large as the readership of the Journal News. And they also have paid subscriptions. So according to the laws that Laura Lee was so kind to research, they do meet the criteria.
Great.
They don't have more than about 350 to 400 subscriptions, though, in the village of Ossining. I'm not saying that that's necessarily bad if they meet all of the criteria, because Gary will definitely print what you send him.
He does.
No question.
On occasion when I've had to use both newspapers for in-rem procedures and things like that, he has been great. Very conscientious, make sure that what is sent to him is what is put in when we ask it to be put in. So he's been very, very helpful with that.
How's the price?
A price is cheaper.
Cheaper's my favorite, and doing business locally is something that we've all been espousing here. Gary and the Gazette do a really great job of covering what goes on in the village, and I think it's wonderful that they become, and appropriate that, in my personal opinion, that they become the publication of record for the village. I love that.
Marianne, could you just tell us what their publication deadline is? If we meet on Wednesday nights, for example, and the board at a work session should call for me to put a resolution on calling for a public hearing, what kind of a lead time is required for that?
He does need, if he publication on Wednesday, we have to have it to him by Monday.
And then it would be published,
Wednesday.
Tuesday or Wednesday, right?
Yeah, 2 days.
Wednesday,
Of the
yeah.
following week.
Right.
No, because the paper doesn't come out on Wednesday. When does the paper come out?
Thursday afternoon or Friday.
So he goes to
But
print
sometimes you
Wednesday.
get it, sometimes you get it earlier in the week if he
Yeah,
closes it
I was
out.
going to say, I've received mine at home either Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would mean we'd have to go out 2
No, we just,
2 weeks
no.
in order to meet the deadline for publication?
Depending on
On what
the
it is.
publication is.
Yes, I guess it's the changes in your zoning laws that have a
Right.
tighter time frame. So I'm just trying to work through my head logistics to be sure. They do meet the criteria. They have to be printed and distributed not less frequently than once a week. They have to be a paper of general circulation.
They are.
And they need to be registered at the post office, U.S. Post Office, as a Class 2, second-class matter, second-class newspaper to be mailed. So they meet the general requirements. It would just, just logistically, I would need to make sure that we would be able to meet the deadlines, that's all.
Good.
Now, the Village of Briarcliff Manor and the Village of Croton both use the Gazette for their legal notices.
There you go.
So,
I mean, this is different than what we'd always been told in the past, that it was important that we have a daily for, I guess, the reason that Lori Lee is bringing up, so that we don't have a lag time in announcing certain public hearings and such. And the point that Mayor Hanauer brought up of the significantly smaller circulation, while it may, putting it in the paper, in the Gazette, may meet our legal requirements, I wonder if we're actually interested in making sure that readers are getting the information. Are there additional avenues that we would like to make part of our practices to ensure that the information is getting out to people, whether that's online publications or some other means?
Can we put it on Facebook?
well, don't forget, we already put the agendas on our website. So
Yes.
people will read the agenda and see that there's a public hearing on local law 3, whatever it may be.
Right, but what we're doing when we're going from the Journal News to the Gazette is we're reducing the number of people who are seeing that notification. So I'm wondering if there are other avenues that may not be required legally, but if our effort is to make sure that people are aware of it, that we may want to, whether it's the folks at the Daily Ossining or something along those lines.
Well, as I had spoken to Supervisor Donnelly, I will be contacting my fellow clerks to see what, particularly Croton and Briarcliff, and see what else they do, if anything else. So I can get back to you on that.
That would be helpful. I also don't want us to be reducing the amount that we're communicating with the public. I want to at least maintain it, so I'd like to find out what other alternatives there are.
That you put on the website and also in the web blast and anywhere else that you want to put it, that this is happening.
Oh, yeah.
So that people who don't get the Gazette might consider buying the Gazette as a result of that. If they
Right.
feel that a printed copy is necessary.
And we can certainly do that. I'm hoping people that watch the work session this evening, or when we do our reorg meeting, and hopefully designate the Gazette. But no, I can get in touch with the various clerks and see what their procedures are. Because I mean, I know that there have been problems with the Journal News with other municipalities as well. But it seems to be, instead of getting better, it seems to be getting worse.
They're having serious
Yes, I said we
financial
had the
problems,
incident last week
and they're
where
having
that
layoffs.
wasn't published.
Since I'm in that business, they're having personnel issues as they downsize, which is affecting their ability to give the kind of customer service people are used to. And what happens is you lose clients, and I think that's what's appropriate here.
I mean, you can meet the statutory requirements, as Trustee Garrity has mentioned, and you can go further than that. Nothing stops you from doing that as a matter of process and policy and procedure. As long as you meet the minimum standards under the statute, you can go as far along the line.
Yeah,
with alternative
I'm not opposed
ways.
to meeting our legal requirement with the Gazette. My concern is just that we don't want to reduce the amount of information that we're sharing with the public, which is
perfect,
what we will be
yeah.
doing if the only change we make is to switch from the Journal News to the Gazette.
That is true, yeah.
As I said, the
Journal
agenda.
News isn't going to print it, we're doing better with the Gazette.
Exactly.
Most of the
Well,
time
we've
they
had-
follow through, though.
The other day was the one that was the most serious. We have had situations where we're having a bid, and I look through the folder. we never got an acknowledgement from the Journal News. And they'll send you something, received on such, will be published such and such a date, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's not good. It leaves a liability problem for the village that we really can't afford to be having to worry about. You know, and they're not nice about it. You know, my understanding is that they don't take responsibility for the mistakes. They don't own them. You know, and their customer service is god awful. You know,
Okay.
I stopped my subscription.
Okay.
Oh, they didn't continue to send it to you?
Hmm?
They didn't continue to send it to you?
Oh yes, they did. And I kept saying, you know, I'm not paying for this. Why do you keep sending it to me?
I've
You know,
had the same
Yeah,
experience.
I said, should I buy a parrot so I have something used for your paper? You know, but that was just
Right, I mean, yes, I mean, the Journal News is also available online, the Gazette is not, like, we're significantly curtailing, aside from just the flexibility of dates. So I'm not against it, because it sounds like we're having some troubles, but, you know,
Yeah, I mean, there's other avenues that we can explore, I believe. There's other options that we can do, so.
but what we're doing then was we're asking the clerk's office to have another, you know, to have more than one place that they have to reach out to every time they put a notice. So that's what we're asking.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's
Thank
what
you.
we're asking.
Okay.
Yes.
We just want to make sure that everything is covered properly.
Thank you.
Do we need a resolution for that?
It's going to be on your reorg meeting if you decide to move forward to designate them. I don't know if you have consensus or if you're looking to get more information from your clerk. I'm not really clear on what direction you want to take, but we just wanted to come forward. I did the research for her, as she asked me to, and we wanted to present you with the problem and this as a possible solution, but it's really up to you.
Well, I think the ask here is that, I think, you know, the Journal News has pretty much failed in its ability to deliver the service that we asked them to do. We have an alternative that's compliant, that's a local business that we want to support. I think the larger question that Victoria is talking about is making sure that we are communicating with the public and that these notices have, you know, multiple ways of being accessed, right? I mean, I agree with that. I think that all our public notices should be broadcast in as many possible ways as they can. So, and I'm interested, Marianne, to see what you find from the other clerks, because I'm sure they have the same concerns that we would have, you know, that we want to make sure that people have a way to find these notices and see them and understand anything that we have to publish from a notice perspective.
There are two things that come immediately to mind for me. One is a Facebook page where we just put notices, and we put just public notices for the village and steer them to the website, you know, and that's all it's for, because the people who do social media will go there. There's also there are a number of large bulletin boards at the train station that notices get on. And I think that we can ask Metro North, because I see notices for chamber music concerts. Maybe they can designate a space this size on each of those bulletin boards where people can be told that that's where they can also look while they're waiting for the train, so we get the commuters. Because we have to reach out to all the different kinds of community there. And, you know, I find that one of the issues here is that there are a lot of people who sleep in Ossining but don't live here. When we first moved to Ossining, it took a year before my wife stopped buying her vegetables at the 14th Street, you know, the Union Square Market, before she said, yeah, I finally got her to realize there are actually stores here. And there are a lot of people who don't utilize Ossining and aren't connected to the community. And I think one way to do that would be to do a partnership with Metro North about getting information out. And the bulletin boards are an easy thing. Also, the rec center has a big bulletin board as you walk in the door, and I'm sure that they'd be happy to give us a corner of it to put notices. The library, the police station, in all the public buildings, there should be a place for public notices. There's that kiosk, you know, right by Market Square that we could utilize. I think we have to be more creative in our reaching out to the public. And all of that stuff exists, and it's available.
Just to piggyback on, when we have a bond issue, I most often have to post it in 6 different spots. One being the library, one being recreation, one on each of the bulletin boards here, and the other at the post office.
There you go. So if we add a couple of other places to that, the kiosk in Market Square and the train station, we, you know,
And we're going
I
to put
think
roller skates in your budget.
you know,
It is a time commitment now that you're asking. It's a little bit of legwork. In some cases, we might be able to email something to the superintendent of rec. Maybe he could print it out and put it up. But, you know, in some cases, we're asking somebody from the clerk's office to more often be going to bulletin boards around the community. With the MTA, you can mail them something, but there's a lag time, so we'll have to find out what that
right.
is.
And I'm sure we can get somebody to do the kiosk. I'm happy to go and
Christina's
do the
usually
boat
very helpful
clubs.
with that, so.
You know, huh?
The person who will help you with the kiosk is seated next to you, I believe.
Yeah, I'm just a facilitator. Richard is actually goes
I'm
and
the
posts them.
hands-on.
Oh, really? You are? Oh, okay.
Also, we can get you a sandwich board that you can wear as you walk around town.
Split the
You know,
tab.
You know.
yeah.
You know,
So, thank
just
you.
like sandwich board in Wonder. Yeah.
All right, so we'll figure it out.
This is
That's something that we can
But
figure
I
out.
guess
If,
the question is, I mean, are we going to?
if we go that route, obviously.
Well, I mean, are we going to go with the Journal News or with the
Yeah,
Gazette or
I'm
not?
fine. We've got some issues with the Journal News. I don't mind doing it as long as you know, legal counsel or people who are more familiar with the, you know, any zoning regulations. If this is something that's going to come up like once or twice, you know, every year, and be like, oh, that's too bad. They have to wait until. I think the argument that was made in the past about why we need to stay with the Journal News is the zoning board meets once a month, and if we miss that deadline, now we've
another
delayed
month.
an opportunity for something to be reviewed by the planning board or the zoning board. That's the argument that I recall from years past.
Correct.
So that is what we're opening ourselves up to.
Right.
So I don't know how often that happens. You know, if we look back on the last year, can we identify, oh, that would have happened one time, it would have been unfortunate, but not, you know, overrunning our planning board progress.
As this just came up this morning, I think it probably would be beneficial for us to send an email to Valerie to ask how this might impact her procedures, and if we could continue to have dialogue via emails, I'm sure we can reach a consensus to go in one direction or another based upon the rest of the information.
Thanks.
It just came up this morning, so,
Good.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. The next item is an update, certiorari payments with respect to 47 South Highland and Stop and Shop. Lori Lee.
Okay, as you recall, on last week's agenda was a certiorari for 2 years for the Stop and Shop property, because it was the 2 years that Erstat Biddle continued to own the property, and they then conveyed the property. So the Stop and Shop Companies, Inc. are the remaining taxable years. It wasn't on simultaneously because actually the judgment allowed for 90 days. So, you know, we try to space them out so that this resolution, you'll see, we were given 90 days before the interest. But it's come up, it's time, it's going to be put on, it's $127,542.90.
This is because they have a bigger, better Stop and Shop?
This is because, it's 6 tax years. The other one is much smaller. It is an individual property for 2 tax years, and it comes to $1,968.21.
So we don't have the option to pick one or the other.
No, I wish. Yes, equal or greater value. I wish. It's not BOGO day, I'm afraid.
On the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Prior to going to the last item on your printed agenda this evening, I just wanted to make note of a couple things for the board and for the public. First of all, we've anticipated we're scheduling the reorganizational meeting, and the annual resolutions will be discussed at a special work session on January 7th, which will be your first legislative meeting of the year, and there'll be a preliminary meeting, if it's satisfactory with the board, at 6:30 to finalize those organizational meeting and the annual resolutions. So just a heads up for that.
So how would that work? We would begin in a work session, and then we'd
Right.
adjourn
Right.
and go into
Yes.
into legislative session.
Yeah, so it's an opportunity to go over all the annual resolutions and, share any concerns that you have on specifics and whatnot, so. Okay, and that'll be followed by your formal meeting at 7:30, and that would take, I think both would take place down at the police court facility, right? So there's several items that are on here for resolutions that would be added to the agenda next week for the official action, one of which is the resolution authorizing the village manager to sign contract documents for stop-loss insurance. This is an annual resolution, and it covers the coverage that's available to the village over and above the self-insured amounts. The second one is budget modifications from the finance office as well with respect to the CSCA and the managers. That is the settlement that was put into place and the raises and the adjustments that were made for the managers and the CSCA following the settlement of the CSCA contract. And it had been budgeted in that the monies were sequestered, if you will. And so now these are budget transfers that the finance office suggests in order to bring the books up to date for the end of the year. And the third one is continuing relationship of the Village of Ossining with IFCA with respect to the affordable housing program. We want to have a renewal contract with them to allow them to provide services to the village for the upcoming year. So, and I think council had indicated there may be some more sort of annual insurance resolutions and whatnot coming.
Yes,
So,
I'm receiving contracts, renewal contracts, sort of through the week, as the week is progressing. I'm reviewing them, and they're the standard administrative type contracts. And if need be, I'll send an email that I'll summarize those that I've received in time, and we'll see if we can get those on for authorization to move forward. A lot of them come up for renewal January 1st, so I'd like to see if I can get as many of them reviewed and on your agenda.
Are there any changes in this IFCA agreement?
I believe it's, we can verify with Valerie, but I believe they may have changed the method of allocation, but the bottom line, I think, is relatively similar. So we'll verify that for next week.
Yeah, Valerie had mentioned that the rates are basically the same. She had asked for a cost for doing some additional things, and that's included in the contract. Things that they weren't doing before, so that if we wanted them to do, but the rate's basically the same.
And what were those?
You know what? She didn't outline it, but it's just kind of like a more complete thing so they've agreed on certain costs to perform certain functions for them. I'm sorry, I don't know what they are. Valerie had a conflict this evening, wasn't able to attend.
Good.
Well, she had discussed some of this in the budget, and we did budget deliberations with her for the budget. She indicated that she was happy with IFCA, and that they were going to get a little more detailed in some of the deliverables and tasks that they were performing, but that there wasn't going to be a price change.
Good.
So.
Okay, great, thank you. The last item on the agenda is a village manager report, and for my report this evening, I would like to share with the public a statement that I shared with the Board of Trustees last week. If you can indulge me, I'll read the submission that I made to the board. This is addressed to the mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining. Dear honorable board members, the ending of one year and beginning of a new one is a good time for reflection as well as a planning for the future. It has been my distinct honor and privilege to serve the Village of Ossining in several capacities over the years, most recently completing 5 years of service as village manager. I thank the current and former village boards as well as the residents and the business owners for the trust placed in me. I will continue to treasure the friendships I have made here, as well as the shared accomplishments that I believe leave the village a better place. There are, of course, always opportunities for improvement, and notwithstanding the successes of which I am extremely proud, I believe the village will be well served at this time in identifying the administrative leadership that will carry it into its future. This will concomitantly allow me time to identify personal goals and ambitions, as well as to investigate other potential opportunities of service. This shall serve as notice of my intention to retire from the position of village manager of the Village of Ossining, effective March 31, 2015. This will hopefully give the village board ample time to identify my successor, and I will, to the best of my ability, assist in any way possible during that time and thereafter in furtherance of his or her and the village's success. And I thank you.
Richard, we thank you for many years of exemplary service to the village and to the town, because you spent some of those years in exile on the third floor instead of the second. But the period of time in which you've been first the temporary replacement person while we looked for a permanent village manager, and then a second time you did the same thing before you became the village manager, was quite extraordinary. You handled very difficult situations with aplomb, and the village owes you a debt of gratitude for all of that and for all of the. This has been a very difficult period of time that you've been manager, mainly because of the national economic disaster, which affected the village in a very major way, and you've managed to pull us through all of that. You managed to hold a wonderful staff of employees and department heads together all that time, get them working together on our behalf, and we really appreciate it. And I very much appreciate the friendship, the collaboration, and the cooperation and the encouragement that you've given me. Anything else?
Okay, any other item on the agenda, or we will have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This ends the televised portion of this evening's agenda. It's the last work session of the year. There won't be one in 2 weeks. There will be a legislative session next week. But in the meantime, in this week to come, as you can see, we're having weird weather. Snow, rain, not rain. Be very careful when you're driving. There were people when we were in the 34, 35 range today where the ground had gotten cold and then it warmed up a little bit. People were slipping on the ice. And so be really careful when you're walking, when you're driving. Look in on your neighbors. Anyone who is infirm or aged or has small children, make sure that they are okay and that they have food and warmth and plenty to drink. So have a good week.